morning to you all. My friends, on 26th November 2020, we are celebrating 71st Constitution Day. On this occasion, I would like to share my views that it is the time to save Indian Constitution in order to save the nation. It was on this day in 1949, the Constitution of India, fathered by Baba Sahib Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, was adopted by the Constituent Assembly of India. It came into force on 26th January 1950. Constitution of India is a supreme law of India. It lays down the framework defining the fundamental political principles, establishes the structure, procedure, powers and duties of the government, institutions, and sets out fundamental rights, directive principles and duties of the citizens. The nation is governed by it. It imparts the constitutional supremacy and not parliamentary supremacy, as it is not created by the parliament but by a constituent assembly and adopted by its own people. With a declaration in its preamble, Parliament cannot override the Constitution. Earlier, 26th November was being celebrated as Law Day to commemorate the adoption of this Constitution by the Constituent Assembly of India. The rationale behind celebrating as National Law Day was beautifully explained by the Honorable Justice P.N. Bhagavati on 26/11/1985 during his address in the following words. It is in the fitness of the things that the day on which the Constitution was endorsed and implemented to be celebrated as Law Day to emphasize and highlight the fundamental role of law in the society and remind ourselves on the sublime purpose which is law is intended to serve in a republic governed by a rule of law. It is that the real purpose of celebrating Law Day is to rededicate ourselves to the cardinal principles which serve forms the solid foundation on which the constitutional edifice is erected. The said principles are the rule of law, independence of judiciary, and independent legal profession. The prime purpose of independent judiciary and independent bar is only to ensure the rule of law. However, the Government of India declared that 26th November should be observed as a constitutional day as a part of 125th birth celebrations of Father of Indian Constitution, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. The celebration of Constitution Day is to bring awareness and importance of Indian Constitution and its chief architect, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. It took 2 years, 11 months and 18 days for Baba Sahib Ambedkar to bring out a comprehensive and one of the best written constitutions in the world. At the time of putting the draft constitution for the endorsement or approval of the Constituent Assembly, Baba Sahib Ambedkar made an emotional, moving speech and at the end gave a clear warning for the future of the democracy and the Constitution of India. He said, "Bhakti in religion may be a road to salvation of a soul, but in politics, bhakti or hero worship is a sure road to degradation and to eventual dictatorship." He further warned that political democracy will not last long unless there lies at its base the social and economic democracy. Therefore, we should not be content with the political democracy as inequality and hierarchy were still embedded in Indian society. If we continue to deny it, that is equality for long, we will do only by putting our political democracy in peril. That was the warning given by Baba Sahib Ambedkar. The essence and ultimate aim of the Constitution of India is enshrined in its preamble as follows. We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic and to secure to all its citizens justice, social, economic and status of opportunity and to promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. In our Constituent Assembly, this 26th day of November 1949, do hereby adopt, enact and give to ourselves this Constitution. Now the question is, whether the Constitution Day is being celebrated in its true spirit, or whether under the pretext of paying respect and praise to the Constitution, the political and administrative apparatus is acting contrary to the same and dilute the object of the Constitution by subverting and distorting the Constitution without openly discarding it and surreptitiously injecting and implementing the laws of Manu or Manusmriti while publicly owing allegiance to the Constitution but in practice acting quite opposite. Now I would like to enlighten you how the Hindutva forces who are acting against the Constitution. The Hindutva forces, and particularly RSS and BJP, which is earlier known as Janasangh Party, never envisaged the Constitution of India as a self-explanatory text and never celebrated Indian Constitution as ultimate document of Indian Democratic Republic. They continue to have critical engagement with the Constitution of India in form or in one form or the other till 2014 when they came to power with absolute majority. In fact, earlier when Atal Bihari Vajpayee was the Prime Minister, a committee was constituted to review the Constitution of India, but it was a damn skip. It may not be out of place to mention what the organizer, the mouthpiece paper of RSS, has written on November 30th, 1949 after the adoption of the Constitution by the Constituent Assembly. What they said is, the worst thing about the new Constitution of Bharat is that there is nothing Bharatiya about it. There is no mention of unique constitutional development in the ancient Bharat. That is to say, his means Manu's. Manu's laws as enunciated in Manusmriti excite the administration of the world and elicit spontaneous obedience and conformity. But to our constitutional pundits, that means nothing. That was the official stand of the RSS as published in Organizer. This being their official line of thinking, electoral compulsions made RSS and BJP to desist from espousing the cause of Manusmriti for the last 7 decades. But they continue to voice their disagreement with the Constitution, demanding the deletion of the words secular and socialist from the preamble of the Constitution. But the things changed with the advent of Modi government at the center in 2014 and its returning again power in 2019 with the absolute majority in the Lok Sabha. This electoral success gave confidence to RSS to make swift moves by giving political directions to the government to change the political force in favor of an aggressive avowal of commitment to Manusmriti, though in a subdued and indiscreet manner. RSS chief Mohan Bhagwat started hailing the Constitution, trying to link it to the cultural and political ethos of RSS on the premise of one nation, one constitution, and openly canvassed and supported abrogation of Article 370, Citizenship Amendment Act, Triple Talaq Act, ban on cow slaughter, which in fact are not in conformity with the fundamental principles of the Indian Constitution. Prime Minister Narendra Modi declared 26th November will be celebrated as a Constitution Day, that is Samvidhan Divas, every year instead of as Law Day. He went on to say, if there is any creation made by man which is immortal, it is India's Constitution. It is India's Constitution. Abrogation of Article 370 and the Citizenship Amendment Act seems to be an important step towards conversion of our democratic, secular and socialistic republic into Hindu Rashtra to be administered basing on the laws of Manu. On 5th August 2020, at the time of Bhumi Puja for Ram Temple, which is to be built on the ruins of Babri Masjid at Ayodhya, in the presence of the Prime Minister Modi, RSS chief Mohan Bhagwat recited one sloka from Manusmriti, which means, from a firstborn, that is Brahmin, in that country, let all the men on earth learn their respective duties. So this is the sign of direction in which India is now slated to move, that is Manusmriti, which extols Varnashrama Dharma and caste system. What Manusmriti? A brief outline of Manusmriti at this juncture will be of help for us to understand the issue in a proper perspective. The laws of Manu extol and reinforce every form of birth based on inequality, socio-economic and gender, that are inescapable and inchangeable. professions to are determined and to be followed according to the caste in which one takes birth. Equality before law and equal protection of laws to all citizens, the cardinal principles of Indian Constitution and modern legal jurisprudence has no place in Manusmriti. In the very first chapter of Manusmriti, it is said, for the growth of this world, he, that means Brahma, creator, produced from his mouth arms, thighs and feet, Brahmins, the Kshatriya, the Vaishya and the Shudra. Dalits are untouchables, are outcasts, do not find any place within this system Varnashrama Dharma. Likewise, women also were treated as unequals in Manusmriti. It says, even in her own home, a female, whether she is a child, a young woman or an old lady, should never carry out any task independently. To preserve these inequalities, Manusmriti leaves no stone unturned. It prescribes an unequal system of justice in giving punishments, and that varies from caste to caste, from twice born, that is Brahmins, to outcasts. Killing of a cow elicits greater punishment than killing of human being. It gives complete immunity to Brahmins by saying, even if he slaughtered the other three worlds, that means the other three creations from the Brahma's body, three worlds, and even if he has eaten food of anyone at all, no sin taints a Brahman who retains Rigveda in his memory. In the light of the above enunciation of laws of Manu, if we carefully study and observe the political and administrative moves of the present government at the center and the changes that are being effected in the laws and other statutes in the last 6 years, the imprint of culture and influence of Manusmriti is clearly visible. Even the latest acts relating to the right of the workers, farmers, amendments to FCRA Act, EAPA Act, legislations which are now being contemplated by Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh government and other BJP-led governments on the pretext of preventing marriage between different religious people, that is, in the name of love jihad, the formation of cow cabinets and imposing of causes, all this etc. It clearly points that the state is slowly drifting into the mode of Manusmriti, diluting and distorting the basic structure of the Constitution of India. The formation and promotion of cow vigilant groups, Kamp Panchayats, are the signs of parallel bodies implementing the punishment prescribed by Manusmriti, bypassing the Indian Constitution. The latest instance is the horrific Hathras incident of brutal gang rape and murder of a Dalit girl in the UP, in which Manusmriti is guiding the UP government to protect twice born accused and to deny justice to the outcast victim. So the change in the attitude of the ruling establishment from its well-known antipathy to giving public praise to the Constitution without direct attack on its essence is a strategic one, and with the purpose of using it to implement its Hindutva majoritarian nationalism. RSS and BJP knows pretty well that Indian Constitution, which withstood the testing of marathon 70 years of its implementation, keeping the country united with its inclusive, pluralistic, secular and democratic fabric intact, upholding the unity in diversity, will not allow assertion of majoritarianism and evoke religion directly to achieve their object of converting India into Hindutva majoritarian state. So they redefined their strategy using political power and started employing legal language to claim inclusiveness of all Indians by abrogating Article 370 and bringing Citizenship Amendment Act, etc., using the power they got from the Constitution of India in the form of their electoral success. It is regrettable that Indian elite sections, liberal, democratic, progressive, secular forces and activists, including political parties, are not able to gauge and comprehend the impending danger. It appears all these constitutional and democratic forces are overconfident that the Constitution of India, being a final and self-evident document, can withstand the indiscreet and behind the back onslaught of Hindutva majoritarian forces and wither it away and can withstand. The opponents of majoritarian Hindutva politics are yet to realize the political impact and effectiveness of Hinduization of the Constitution of India to enforce the laws of Manu. This over-reliance on the inherent strength of the Constitution of India as a self-explanatory political desk, and that it will succeed to defeat and discredit Hindutva politics is increasingly becoming counterproductive. It is relevant to remind the warning of the father of Indian Constitution, Baba Saheb Ambedkar. What he said is, Constitution is strong enough to hold country together both in peace and war times. If things goes wrong, the reason will not that we had a bad Constitution. What we will have to say is that a man is wild. If hereafter things goes wrong, we will have nobody to blame except ourselves. That was the warning given by Baba Saheb Ambedkar. So it is the people who enforce and implement the Constitution are wild. If they do not live up to their calling, having taken Solomon oath to protect and implement the provisions of the Constitution, but act and do the things that violate, dilute, distort and defeat the provisions of the Constitution and its objectives enshrined in its preamble. Unfortunately, that is what really is happening now. Likewise, if the Constitution is not properly followed and implemented and things goes wrong, we the people of India are alone to be blamed. If we do not realize the danger pouncing upon us and stand up boldly to protect the Constitution by defeating the authoritarian, divisive and communal tendencies of the powers that be. Therefore, on this occasion of celebrating Constitution Day, it is the bounden duty of every citizen of this great country who are committed to the values and basic objectives of the Constitution of India and its unity in diversity to take pledge and rededicate ourselves to protect and preserve the Constitution of India, defeating the sinister designs of authoritarian, communal and majoritarian forces by preventing them from diluting and distorting the Constitution of India directly or indirectly. Lest India, which sustained and progressed in its democratic and secular path for the last 70 years on the strong and vibrant edifice of the Constitution of India, will once again drift back to medieval Manusmriti days, foregoing its hard-earned independence, democratic, socialistic and secular fabric guaranteed by one of the best written constitutions in the world. And if that happens, the future of India is definitely doomed. Jai Bhim, Jai Bharat.